So we're missing Soup, and we're missing our good friend RJ's here. We're missing her friend Michaela. So by the way, congratulations, first place again this weekend, right? How's it feel to be number one? All right, going to state, hoping, right? Conference this weekend, sections the weekend after, 2 weekends after. So you got some time. Okay, very good. Unit circle. We've already talked about the unit circle a little bit. It's x squared plus y squared is equal to 1. So that's the equation for a circle, and its radius is 1. Who can remember, what do we then say about that point right there? You remember what that point is? It's 360 degrees. In terms of a point, it's 1, 0. How about that coordinate? 0, 1. That one? Negative 1, 0. And how about that coordinate? Great. What we would say is that in the unit circle, you have all these different angles that we've drawn. And so far, we've worked on coming up with those terminal points, haven't we? We said that the radius is always 1. And then we found a certain x value and a certain y value. Today, what you want to learn is the definitions of your trigonometric functions. So you've heard these terms, sine, cosine, and tangent. Sine, we write as sine of theta. So you don't write the E, and it's sine. It's not sin. It's like church on Sundays, okay? Talk about sin. Chick-fil-A on Sundays. And the way that we calculate sine is if this is an xy value, sine is y over r. But in the unit circle, what's the radius? 1. So if the radius is 1, then what does y over r end up being? It just ends up being y. So when you identify what the y value is, you've identified what sine is. Cosine, we write as COS. Please don't say cos or cos. It's cosine. And cosine is x over r, which in the unit circle is just x. The last one is tangent. My good friend J Gel says tan. Sometimes people do say tan. I won't yell at you if you do that. But if you say sin or cos, I'll start throwing things at you. So just because it really reduces, kind of the respect for mathematics, So, all right. So he's a funny guy right there. Tangent is y value divided by x value. There's other functions, cosecant, CSC of theta. You're not going to use these a lot. But that is the reciprocal of sine. It's 1 over sine. Secant, we write SEC of theta, and it's 1 over cosine. And cotangent we write as COT of theta, which is 1 over tangent of theta. So those are the reciprocals of the other ones. We good? Okay. So it says calculate the exact values of sine, cosine, and tangent for the functions given the value of theta. So it says theta is pi over 6. And actually, I'm going to have us do a couple problems on your worksheet so you can see it. So the question from my good friend Gavin was, do we learn something new today? You do, but you already know how to do a lot of it. So pi over 6, do you remember how many degrees pi over 6 is? 30 degrees. So I want to know what sine of pi over 6 is, and what cosine of pi over 6 is, and what tangent of pi over 6 is. So what I do is I construct this triangle where I have a 30-degree angle. So what's that terminal point? The radius is 1. What other side do I know then? The angle's 90. This short side is a half. What's the longer side? Root of 3 over 2. So again, I'm looking at a point. I'm looking at a coordinate. Okay, what's the x value of the coordinate? Root of 3 over 2. What's the y value of the coordinate? 1/2. So here's what we've learned. In order to find sine, you just choose the y value. What's the y value? So the sine of pi over 6 is 1/2. Cosine is the root of 3 over 2. It's the x value. And then finally, to find tangent, what we do is we take y divided by x. 1/2 divided by the square root of 3 over 2. How do I divide fractions? Multiply by the reciprocal. So I multiply by 2 over the root of 3. So I get rid of that. What's going to happen? The 2's cancel. Yep. And I get 1 over the root of 3. Can I leave the square root and the 3 in the denominator? So multiply top and bottom by square root of 3. Root of 3 over 3. Good. Pi over 4, how many degrees? 45. You guys remember this? The radius is always 1. How do I get to the other side? Divide by the square root of 2. So it's the square root of 2 over 2. And because it's a 45, 45, 90, the other side is the same. So this coordinate right there is the root of 2 over 2, root of 2 over 2. Is sine the x value or the y value? Doesn't matter in this situation, but it is the y value, square root of 2 over 2. Cosine? Root of 2 over 2. Now before you freak out about tangent, if they're the same, 1. We're going to try 2 more together, and then I'm going to let you guys do some work on your own. You don't have to do all the problems, okay? There's technically 4 pages to this work. You're going to cross off that last page entirely. So problems 19 through 24, cancel all those out. So that reduces your problems from 24 down to 18, and then we're doing 4 together, so that leaves 14 problems on your own. Please look at problem number 4. Pi over 2 is how many degrees? 90. I know the coordinate at 90. What is the coordinate at 90? 0, 1. So I have the sine of 90. I have the cosine of 90. I have the tangent of 90. What is the sine of 90? It's 1. It's the y value. What's the cosine? 0. How do I compute tangent? I do y divided by x. Can you divide something by 0? When we have 0 on the bottom, we say undefined. If 0 is in the numerator, it's 0. If 0 is in the denominator, it's undefined. Okay. All right, flip it over. We do one more together. We do problem 11 together. 4 pi over 3. I don't remember how to convert it, so I multiply by 180 and divide by pi. The pi's cancel. What's 180 over 3? 60 times 4. So I have 240 degrees. So I go to my 240 degree location, which is right here. What kind of special triangle do I have? Yep, you see, 240 is 60 degrees past 180. So I have a 30, 60, 90 triangle. What is the length of the radius? 1. How do I get to the shorter side? Yep, I get 1/2. I divide by 2. Then I get square root of 3 over 2. So I have a terminal point, a point that's located right there. What's the x value? Negative 1/2. What's the y value? So which value do I point to sine? Negative root of 3 over 2. What value do I give to cosine? Negative 1/2. And how do I determine tangent again? Now, it looks scary, but first of all, what's a negative divided by a negative? A positive. Second of all, when I divide, I should multiply by the, so I multiply by 2 over 1. What happens to the 2's? And I get just the square root of 3 over 1, which is square root of 3. So that's not too bad then, is it? Okay. Very good. So yeah, this is the part where we're learning how to do brakes. And at some point, we got to see you do them on your own, right? Before we can trust to drive the car. So go ahead. You want those 3 pages. We did 4 of the problems together. You have 14 problems on your own. I think that if you can handle this, tomorrow's lesson is going to be just fine. It's not going to be any big deal. So go ahead. Yeah, maybe let you drive you. So.